Let me quote what he said about life in Canada after 8 years of his prime ministership, and I quote, "Yeah, grocery bills suck.
For Canadians, yeah, grocery bills suck.
Rent sucks.
Rent sucks.
Mortgage renegotiations, oh my God, how are we going to deal with it?"
Mortgage renegotiation, oh my God, how are we going to deal with it? Like, these are real fears.
Mr. Speaker, this is life after 8 years. What is his slogan going to be in the next election? Vote for me and life will still suck?
My, what a spicy day it was in the question period today, and it's very fitting seeing as it's Valentine's Day. Now, pretty much the whole question period today was about the Arrive Scam or ArriveCan app, whatever you want to call it. And every single party basically hammered Trudeau on this whole topic. Whether it was the Bloc, whether it was the Conservatives, whether it was the NDP, didn't matter. All targeted towards Justin Trudeau in regards to the mismanagement of the funds, in regards to what the money could have been done for, who actually is responsible for this. And of course, Trudeau gave a lot of deflection and a lot of, ring around the rosy answers as he always does. But the question period actually started with a kickoff like this.
Prime Minister's Arrive Scam is now flailing out of control. Today, revelations from a Joël Denis Bellevance that one ArriveCan company received $250 million in contracts. Let's get this straight. It's a company with 4 employees, headquartered in the basement of a tiny cottage. They got IT contracts even though they admit they do no IT work. $250 million. WTF.
Here, here.
I'm going to ask, we are dangerously close to crossing the line in terms of what is considered parliamentary language. That is an abbreviation which is commonly used with language, which is commonly understood not to be parliamentary. I'm going to ask the honourable opposition leader, please, to withdraw that comment and to use parliamentary language, please.
Where's the funds?
And there we have it, Pierre being creative as always. But if you were listening to what he said $250 million was given to this one company who was working out of the basement of a cottage. Now, back in November, when these gentlemen were witnesses at a committee hearing, they wouldn't have told you this was a cottage. This was actually a chalet.
Do you know if Cameron McDonald has a cottage?
I don't know if Cameron McDonald has a cottage.
Do you know if he had one?
I do not know if he had a cottage.
Knew whether or not Mr. Cameron McDonald from the CBSA had a cottage. And you said no. Do you want to reflect on that answer?
Yeah, Mr. McDonald has never referred to it as a cottage. It's a chalet. It's not a cottage.
For that clarification, Mr. Firth.
French is so useful.
Are you kidding me?
Have you ever met with government officials outside of government offices, outside of government business hours?
No, I have not.
You have not. So I'm going to ask you some of these questions again. Have you ever met with government officials or anyone employed by government in a private residence? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. What is the nature of that meeting?
I'm assuming that I don't know the exact meaning you're referencing. It's not like I've had hundreds of these things. The truth is, I don't know which one you're talking about. I don't know which one sorry, I cannot comment. If you could direct your exact question to me in writing, I'm more than happy to respond.
Sir, you're here providing oral answers to oral questions for a standing committee of the House of Commons.
Answer.
And I love this clip the most because of Larry Brooks' response there. Oh my gosh, well, thank you for the clarification, as if a chalet and a cottage are completely different things. Now, clearly these are the people that we had given all this money to, and they can't even come to a committee hearing where they know that they have to give oral answers, and this guy's asking him to give him a written question. Send in your question via writing, and then I'll get back to you. That's not how this works. And like I said, all of the other parties, the Bloc, NDP, even the Conservatives, kept hammering Justin on this. And when the NDP questioned Justin on the money thing, Justin let something slip that probably he shouldn't have. And you could hear all of the House just basically laughing at him.
So we learned that the ArriveCan scandal goes even deeper. The Liberals gave $250 million to GC Strategies. Let's talk about what that $60 million for ArriveCan could have bought. 125 affordable homes. 800 nurses hired. Instead, this Prime Minister spent this money on an app that doesn't work and no one uses. How does the Prime Minister look Canadians in the eyes with all this waste?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, during the pandemic, Canadians' lives were at risk, and we, quite rightly as a government, reached out to all the possible tools to keep Canadians safe. And indeed, the pandemic was less deadly and less harmful to our economy in Canada than it was in most, if not all, of our peer countries. But at the same time, even as we were innovating and trying to do everything we could to keep Canadians safe, the rules needed to be followed. It is obvious that in this case, the rules don't look like they were followed, and that's why there are investigations ongoing that need to get to the bottom of it.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Flagrantly violated, and millions of dollars were wasted.
And Jagmeet is right. Millions of dollars were wasted. And the sad part is, we actually don't even know exactly how much it was. Because when the Bloc questioned Justin on who was responsible, again, he gave the ring around the rosy answer, to the point where the Bloc said, well, you know what, going further, you should be the one that's going to be blamed for everything.
It's important that all Quebecers and Canadians should know that the government has an unfortunate habit of finding scapegoats for the mistakes they've made over the past 8 years. My first question is quite straightforward. Who is responsible? Whose fault is ArriveCan? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, while the pandemic was raging, as a government, we tried to find various ways, every way possible, to protect Canadians' health and safety. But even in times as difficult as that, we have clear rules that have to be followed around contracting and procurement. And we expect the investigators and the responsible authorities to do their job so that we can find out exactly how this unacceptable situation occurred. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. For clarity, I think we can assume from now on that the person responsible for everything and all the corrective measures that will be needed is the Prime Minister of Canada.
And after Trudeau answered the Bloc and Pierre was about to speak again, there was a pro-Palestinian protest that started in the balcony, and there was a brief pause for about 2 to 3 minutes before Pierre got to speak again. But when he did get back up, he took the time to point out that this individual company in question started getting swaths of contracts 3 weeks after Justin got into power in 2015.
So let's recap. A company that had never before received contracts from the federal government started getting an avalanche of contracts just 3 weeks after this Prime Minister took office. The company, in fact, got $250 million for IT, even though it admits it doesn't do IT. It has 4 employees and has a headquarters in the basement of a cottage. Can the Prime Minister explain why this suspicious company started getting these contracts exactly 21 days after he took office?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
It's obviously an unacceptable situation, which is why the relevant authorities are fully investigating exactly what went on here, particularly highlighted by the Auditor General's recent report. This is an issue we need to continue to understand and make sure that the rules are being followed, make sure that our procurement practices across government are respectful of taxpayer money.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
More proof the Prime Minister is not worth the cost or the corruption. After 8 years of doubling housing costs, quadrupling the carbon tax, sending 2 million people to food banks, he somehow found $250 million for this one company, which boasts on its website that it is now Ottawa's fastest growing company. No doubt about that when they're having their faces stuffed with tax dollars by this Prime Minister. Why is it that when Canadians are starving in food bank lines, the Prime Minister finds $250 million for his friends?
Now, you heard Justin there talking about the Auditor General and her most recent report. And as we heard from her the other day, that this app should have costed about $80,000, but apparently $60 million was allocated to this. Yet she doesn't even know if that's the full amount because the records are just so poorly kept. Well, she had another witness committee hearing the other day, and she kind of basically doubled down and said, yeah, this is one of the worst record keepings I ever seen. I don't even know where to really start.
Ms. Hogan, you have the floor for your opening comments, please.
Mr. Chair, I am pleased to be here today to discuss our audit report on the ArriveCan application, which was tabled in the House of Commons yesterday. Our audit on the ArriveCan application looked at how the Canada Border Services Agency, the Public Health Agency of Canada, and Public Services and Procurement Canada managed the procurement and development of the application, and whether they spent public funds in a way that delivered value for money. I will discuss our findings, but first, I have to say that I am deeply concerned by what this audit didn't find. We didn't find records to accurately show how much was spent on what, who did the work, or how and why contracting decisions were made. And that paper trail should have existed. Overall, this audit shows a glaring disregard for basic management and contracting practices throughout ArriveCan's development and implementation.
However, if you listen to Justin Trudeau there, he says he cares about your tax dollars. What a joke. But anyways, love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about this whole situation. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.